This is a story time of why I don't eat at other people's house no more. Me and my best friend, we were like 11 or 12 at the time, and we were having a sleepover at her house. We had hung out outside of school many times before. This would just be the first time I went over to her house. My mom drops me off and just lets me walk inside. When I went up to the door, my best friend answered and she was like, "Hey, can you grab a shoe?" Immediately I could tell that the house wasn't very clean, but I knew it wasn't her fault. It's not because she asked me to grab a shoe. I could see behind her and could tell that the house was just really messy. It really did look like an episode of Hoarders, but I grabbed a shoe and I helped her look for that fly. So it was me, my bestie, and her grandma looking for this big ass bug. We got a little tired, so we sat down to eat something and her grandma made us a snack. I was a little scared to eat, not gonna lie, but I didn't want to make my best friend feel bad, so I went ahead and ate my food. Well, I was only able to eat some of it because we had left the basement door open and we saw the bug fly down there. So we stopped eating, ran down to the basement, and we saw the bug fly behind this box. We moved this box, and I swear 100 families of spiders and their ancestors started spewing out, like for part 2. This is going to be part 2 of why I don't eat at other people's house no more. Like I said, so many spiders started spewing out from behind this box. I genuinely thought that these spiders were going to eat all of us alive. It was not a fun situation. We did not run fast enough. These spiders started crawling all over us. I think I saw a lighter somewhere and considered setting myself on fire. I want you guys to imagine like my whole entire body covered up with spiders. That's what it felt like, but there was only like 5 or 6 on me. The grandma gets a blanket and starts whipping us with it. She's like trying to dust the spiders off. I see my best friend start stripping. I was a little about that, but I was like, fuck it. Anything to get these spiders off. Once we felt like we were good, we ran upstairs. My best friend started crying to me and apologizing and saying how much she hates her life and how she's so embarrassed. But I told her that all is good and this doesn't change the way that I see her at all. We have our little moment and then we sit down to eat again. And you know, I'm going in on my little SpaghettiOs. But all of a sudden, it starts getting crunchy. I ignore it and I get down to the bottom of the bowl. When I look down, there is a half-eaten spider in the bottom of the bowl, like for part 3. This is going to be part 3 of why I don't eat at other people's house anymore. So like I said, I was munching and grunching on some SpaghettiOs. It's getting crunchy and I'm like, what's this crunch? Where's all this crunch coming from? I was like, bruh, it's probably some expired SpaghettiOs, but let me finish this bowl so my friend don't feel bad. When I got to the end and there was only some soup left, I saw a half-eaten spider. The same spiders that we had seen downstairs. My body? It started vibrating. I was shaking. I seized out. I think I passed out. This was not a good situation. I did have a phobia of spiders. I told my best friend, listen, babes, I love you. You know I love you. But this cannot go on no longer. I'm gonna have to go home. I felt like such a terrible friend, but I did call my mom. And she came to get me and she took me home. I told her what happened and she was upset with my friend's grandma. From then on, we only had sleepovers at my house. And ever since my family found out about her living situation, we would go over there sometimes to help them clean. We would bring food and games. I'm grown now, but me and this girl ended up falling out because of some drama.
Story time on how my babysitter used a teddy bear to spy on me while I changed. Okay, so boom. My parents worked a lot and they both worked night shifts. My dad would come home first at like 11 p.m. and then my mom would usually come around 1 a.m. My parents didn't want me to be home alone for too long, so I would have a babysitter from 3 when I would get off of school till 11 when my dad came home. By the way, I'm 12 and the babysitter that we're going to be talking about is 19. So I usually stayed with my older cousin till my dad came home, but my cousin and her family moved. So my parents were forced to get me an actual babysitter. So like a week into me dealing with this new babysitter, one night I was changing and my babysitter tried to open the door, but it was locked. I told her that I was changing, but she told me that I have to leave my door unlocked just in case something happens. I only believed her because my parents had a similar rule. But eventually, my babysitter was always walking into me accidentally while I changed. I was getting annoyed, so I had to think of something to stop her. Y'all, I'm running out of time. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how my babysitter used a teddy bear to spy on me while I changed. Okay, so boom, like I said, my babysitter kept accidentally walking in on me while I was changing. So to stop her, after I would get out the shower, I would literally go to her and say, hey, I'm in my room changing. I'll be right back. Please don't come in. So she had no choice but to stop accidentally seeing me. Well, that stopped her for a week and then she got me a teddy bear. I was excited because it was a pretty big bear and it was super soft. She came in my room with me and said she got the perfect spot for the bear. And I was like, okay, cool. Y'all, she put it right on my dresser, front and center, great view to see everything. And ever since then, she never came back into my room. Y'all, the things I did in my room, like dancing with no clothes on, acting like I was Beyonce on stage, shaking my little booty with barely any clothes on. And little did I know she was downstairs watching the whole thing. Cause the camera was in the teddy bear's eyes. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how my babysitter used a teddy bear to spy on me while I changed. changed. Okay, so boom, like I said, she gave me a teddy bear with camera eyes and put it on my dresser. I, of course, didn't notice that there was actually cameras in the eyes of the teddy bear. Well, one day my mom was cleaning my room and she asked me where did I get this bear from? And I told her that my babysitter got it for me. And my mom was like, oh, okay. For some reason, my mom was creeped out about the bear and she ended up putting it in the washroom to clean it later. That same night, before I even got a hello, my babysitter said, why'd you move the bear? And I looked at her and said, how did you even know the bear was moved? She kind of stumbled on her words, but then she told me that my mom told her. I obviously fell for it and was like, oh yeah, she put it in the washroom to clean later. Y'all, my babysitter went to the washroom and took the bear and she placed it back on the dresser at the same spot. And she told me to tell my mom that we washed the bear together. I really didn't care, so I was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And I went about my day. This is where it gets real. Like for part 4. Part 4 on how my babysitter used the teddy bear to spy on me while I changed. Okay, so boom, like I said, after my mom moved the teddy bear, my babysitter went in and moved it back. The next day, it was Saturday, so my mom was off. My mom came in my room and saw the teddy bear and asked me why I brought it back up. So I said, honestly, Mom, the babysitter put it back up. She was so sad that you moved it. You should have never even told her. And my mom just looked at me confused and was like, what do you mean? I didn't tell her I moved the bear. And I said, of course you did, Mom. You probably just forgot. Because before she even walked through those doors, she asked me why I moved the bear. My mom's eyes opened wide and she froze. My mom took her phone out and opened a flash and shined it into the bear's eyes. And then she screamed, oh my gosh, and then grabbed the teddy bear and ran to her room. There the camera was. My mom called the cops and then the cops went to my babysitter's house like 15 minutes away. And my babysitter's parents, not knowing what's going on, let the cops in. Y'all, like for part 5. Part 5 on how my babysitter used the teddy bear to spy on me while I changed. Okay, so boom, like I said, my mom grabbed the teddy bear and ran to her room and called the cops. The cops went to my babysitter's house and her parents led them in. So the cops went into my babysitter's room and then confiscated the laptop. Y'all, she had videos of me and about 5 other girls that she babysat for. And she was recording all of us naked. And we're all minors. She, of course, went to jail and my parents refused to hire anyone to babysit me anymore. They actually prefer a family member or they just leave me home, to be honest. And my parents actually didn't tell me what happened until I got older, which I'm now 18, because they didn't want me to feel so violated. So they handled it all without me knowing, which I'm grateful for because I probably would have had a mental breakdown if my mom really told me what happened at that very moment. So anyways, be careful who you leave alone with your kids, guys.
So this is the real story about how I broke the Big Thunder Mountain ride at Disneyland, or so I thought. So at the beginning of the ride, I pulled out my phone to film, which I do all the time, and none of the workers ever say anything, but this time as we were on the ride, you could hear a lady on the loudspeaker yelling things at us throughout the ride, and this was the only instance I got it audibly on camera. I don't remember what else she said because we were screaming on the ride. I wasn't sure if she was saying things to me or someone else because everyone was faced forward on the ride, so I didn't really know what she was talking about. Anyway, I got really scared because technically you're not supposed to have your phone out. She kept saying things over the loudspeaker until they ended up literally stopping us in the middle of the ride. We were stuck there for about 15 to 20 minutes and they made everyone leave the line, so it got pretty scary because no one was telling us what was going on. Meanwhile, I was convinced I was the reason they stopped the ride because I had my phone out and thought I dropped something on the rails. My friend also kept telling me that I broke the ride, so it was kind of an inside joke that I broke the ride. But finally, some workers came and released us and we had to climb down onto this ramp to get off. But in the end, they gave us all fast passes. They still never told us exactly what happened, but I assume it was because of my juicy fat ass.
This story time was sent to me by a follower and it actually involves a very popular creator on this app. They actually have millions of followers. Let's get into it. So this girl first started talking to this creator when she DM'd him and he actually replied. She thought he was really cute, he thought she was really cute, and they exchanged numbers. Ended up meeting up at Playlist and he invited her to chill in his Airbnb. Well, things got a little bit freaky deaky in that Airbnb. You know, they was fucking. Afterwards, they just kind of chilled. They were laid up talking about life, you know, all that deep shit. And eventually he told her that she had to leave because his boys were coming through or whatever. They just wanted to chill and talk about boy stuff. But before she left, he told her that he loved her and he wanted to be with her. What the fuck is going on here? Let me fix that real quick. Okay, we back. So she left and went to tell her friends what just happened. Hours had passed and she noticed that he wasn't really posting on his story anymore. And he usually posts a lot. While her friend opened Snapchat, noticed that he actually did post. He posted hours ago. And he was with another girl. Part two of the TikToker story time. I forgot to mention that this TikToker actually took her virginity. Her first time was in the Airbnb. So yeah, she noticed that he blocked her from watching his story because her friend could see his story, but she couldn't. And clearly he did not want her to see that he's laid up with another girl in that same Airbnb that they were just fucking. Anyway, so she obviously texted him, was like, what the fuck is this? She threatened to expose him and everything. And he replied saying, well, if you expose me, I'm gonna expose you. She said, what do you have against me? And he replied with, I know you have a boyfriend. And she did have a boyfriend. So she said, oop. And he proceeded to tell her that he only wanted to use her for pussy while he was at playlist.
This is why you should never hook up with a man. Just kidding, this is also karma on my end too. So I was starting my freshman year of college and I was going into it with a girlfriend of 3 years. I was no longer emotionally invested in the relationship, but I wanted to keep up appearances back home. However, I knew that when I went to college, I wanted to hook up with someone. And not just anyone, I wanted to hook up with a man. Because I had literally never done that before. So I went to freshman orientation and went to a meet and mingle and ended up meeting a guy named Logan. At least that's what we'll call him. He was so cute and so charming and we were able to bond over the nerdiest things, which is stuff that my girlfriend always made me feel extremely childish about. Logan made me feel validated and understood. This is when he told me he had a girlfriend too. Not long after, he ended up telling me he had a crush on me and wanted to talk about it in person. So I went up to his room and he sang to me, held me, and made me feel loved. Then I spent the night and, you know. The next day he took me out to lunch with his parents and then I decided to have a conversation with him about what we should do. We both agreed we should just keep acting like us and doing our thing. But I felt super bad and super uncomfy that he had a girlfriend. So one day my girlfriend found out and contacted his girlfriend. Storytime part 2 on why you should never sleep with a man. Again, just kidding, I am also to blame. Once my girlfriend found out I was cheating, she told Logan's girlfriend too. That night, she blew up Logan's phone telling him everything she had been told, and he literally told his girlfriend that I did sleep with someone on campus, but it wasn't him. He said that I just told my girlfriend it was him just to spite her. I obviously should have seen this as a massive red flag, as if there weren't a million others. Of course, his girlfriend wanted to hear my side, so I just went along with whatever Logan said, even though I felt awful and I have no idea why I went along with something so low. And after that, we still kept sleeping together. And even though I had broken up with my girlfriend by now, he still acted like he was in a perfect relationship with his girlfriend. He also let me know that this was not his first time two-timing before. So his cycle was just continuing. He ended up breaking things off with me on their 1 year so he could spend time with her and completely ghosted me. Even after telling me that he still wanted to be close like we were before our affair. I know what I did was wrong, I'm not defending myself, but I still think it's shitty and they're still together. If you guys have a story that you'd like to share, follow me and DM me on Instagram.
Okay, so this happened in like 2019. I was staying with my 3 friends for the weekend because we were having a summer break. All of my friends smoked, so we would all smoke Mary Jane together. The oldest, who was 21, was the one who would get it for all of us. By the way, we were all 18 or older. So while I was at my friend's house, we were all downstairs in the basement smoking when we hear footsteps coming downstairs. So we start packing up and one of my friends starts spraying perfume in the air and one of them pretends to be asleep and I was high as fuck. I didn't know what to do. Mind you, we were all in rotation and I had the blunt. So there's this back room in my friend's basement where her grandma likes to sleep in because her favorite couch is in there that she likes to sleep on. I don't know what it is about old people and having favorite specific pieces of furniture. But she doesn't know what Mary Jane smells like, so we do it while she's sleeping in that room anyways. So I go into the back room where my friend's grandma is sleeping so I can find a place to hide the blunt so it doesn't stink up the whole entire basement. And I see my friend's grandma laying on the couch and the first thing I think of is put the blunt under her wig. So that's what I did. And no, I did not put it out. Child, not even 10 seconds after I left that room, my friend's grandma comes out the room screaming, this bitch is on fire. This is part 2 of how I set my friend's grandma on fire. If you didn't see part 1, it's the last video where I was playing Subway Surfer. So like I said, we see that my friend's grandma is on fire and everyone was confused because the rest of the room was not on fire. She was the only thing in the room that was lit up. So my friend's grandma is burning. My friend's mom picks up a cloth she found on the floor to put out the fire while she's screaming for the dad to come downstairs and help. So they were able to put out the fire, but the grandma passed out, so we had to call an ambulance and get her rushed to the hospital. And I know I'm going to hell for this, but the whole time I was thinking, damn, I really hope that blunt turned into ashes, because if they find that shit, I'm done for. I don't know why I put it under her wig while she was sleeping, but I thought it was the right thing to do. Anyways, the ambulance rushed her to the hospital and we drove after them. My friend and I had to wait in the sitting room and her dad came back to tell us they were putting her under surgery. But they thought that she could make it, so everything was good. Everyone was trying to figure out why she caught on fire. I kept my mouth shut because I thought I was gonna go to jail. And gladly, my friends were too high to notice that I went into the room with the grandma. But then my friend's mom comes up to us and confronts us and says one of us did go into the room where the grandma was sleeping because the police found the blunt. Okay, so this is going to be part 3 story time of how I caught my friend's grandma on fire. If you didn't see part 2, it is my last video. So apparently as police were looking around the area where she caught on fire, they found a roach on the floor. In other words, they found a very, very tiny piece of a burnt blunt and they could immediately identify it. Clearly the grandma does not smoke blunts, so it obviously wasn't hers. And my friend's mom knew we were smoking, so one of us had lied and I was not ready to catch a murder charge that day, so I stayed mute. I forgot to mention this in part 1, but it was my friend's mom who came down the steps and that's why we were cleaning up all frantically and stuff. And she knew we were smoking because she could smell it. Like, that perfume did not do anything. So no one admitted to being in the room with the grandma, so my friend's mom called all of our parents. And at that point, I finally gave in and I told them that it was me. And yeah, they were pissed, but they still let me off just because I'm a very, very close friend of their family, and so they didn't press charges against me. The grandma finally eventually woke up and everything was good and she was fine and she's still alive till this day, but she did have severe burns on her scalp.